Welcome to the Bad Boys Trilogy review video, I guess I could say. I've done a couple of these so far, which I've reviewed 3 films in a trilogy at once. I've done it twice now, and then there's others where obviously I review each film on a separate video. I kind of like doing it this way, especially for action films, because, I don't know, gets done quicker, and, you know, trilogies or franchises like this kind of blend into one another anyway, so they're kind of best watching triple featured to begin with, so it kind of makes sense in that way. But I don't know, I'll see the reactions from them, and you can also check out the other 2 that I have on my channel, which I'll probably link here too, and see how they are, and depending on how many views they get or how much attention they get, I'll continue, or I'll start reviewing each film one at a time in the future, but we'll see what happens. Is it a surprise that the original Bad Boys is my favorite, even though it seems that audiences like the third one the best? Picked this one up most recently on 4K. Came with the sled too. And I picked them up all at once. I didn't own them prior to like a month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that. And I also hadn't watched them in a long time, other than watching the 3 of them kind of in a row most recently. But the first one, I remembered the... Okay, let's start again. The third one I had never seen at all. So I bought that one most recently, but I bought the other 2, had watched them before a few times, kind of went back and forth on which ones I liked more. Like I said, it's been a while since I watched both of them, but this one is the one that I bought blind and hadn't seen at all. And I bought kind of specifically to do this review, but yeah. Beginning with the first one, still after this review, it certainly remains my favorite one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and I think it's the best portrayal of a buddy cop film. Of course, the first 2 are directed by Michael Bay. He has a lot of haters, he has a lot of lovers. He goes back and forth. He's a 50-50 kind of director when it comes to opinions. I agree that the majority of his film library is basically a CGI explosion fest for the most part. I think that he knows how to hold a camera, he knows where to put a camera, he knows how to direct a scene, absolutely. I think he's just obsessed with explosions and CGI. I think that's like his candy. I think he looks at friggin' CGI explosions like, you know, the greatest experience you can possibly have at the theater, and louder and bigger and shit like that. And I think that kind of takes away from the whole density of his filmmaking, but I don't think that he doesn't know how to shoot a film per se, or doesn't understand how to bring a scene to life and how to create a scene. He knows how to do that. Is he very detailed in his storytelling, and can he create an experience with a film? That's where it kind of like I'm mixed on it. I really did not like 6 Underground at all, and I think Bad Boys 1 and 2 definitely reflect 6 Underground in the way it's structured. 6 Underground is way up there with the CGI and explosions like friggin' Transformers was, which I don't like any of those. But it had kind of a story, but where he directed a story the best, at least the best that he's done, in my opinion, easily goes to Bad Boys 1. And this is something funny, actually, that I saw in some like critique notes and stuff like that. Bad Boys 1 was panned because a lot of critics said the chemistry between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith is great. It's just squandered in a film filled with explosions and set pieces. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's filled with explosions and set pieces, but that takes away nothing from their banter. They are perfect in this film. It's such a good buddy cop film that works well and balances. It really balances. And the critics are like, this film isn't balanced. It's all explosions and it's not enough them. And I'm like, no, I don't agree. It's 50-50, a perfect blend of both the characters and their buddy copness and the action in between. It's a perfect balance. Bad Boys 2, on the other hand, yes, I can see the criticisms where on that specific note, where it's basically a CGI explosion fest, and their chemistry is a little bit taken away and put on like the background, and the foreground is just boom, 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 friggin' crappy CGI everywhere. Mind you, it's 2003. That was the era of crappy CGI, so you kind of have to blame the time more so than the film itself. Like, it doesn't completely go to Michael Bay's directing and choices. It kind of goes through the era of which the film was released, but I can definitely see that criticism being more true to Bad Boys 2 than the first one. The first one is really well balanced in my opinion, and easily holds my favorite of the three. So getting into that story, it starts out with some stolen heroin that was seized by the Miami Metro, and of course you got Will Smith and Martin Lawrence being some of the some of the best buddy cops on screen. It feels like 1995, but it's not really shoved in your face. It feels like that really hot, sunny Miami kind of atmosphere. But like it's present, but it's not like forced kind of thing, which I like. So yeah, there's a bunch of heroin stolen. They're kind of led to investigate this. They're searching for basically like areas of the city that are more rich, you could say, and looking up mobsters with histories of crime and all this. There's one woman that's sent undercover as a escort with one of her escort friends, kind of thing. They're sent to this mansion undercover, and they're kind of ambushed in a sense where there's this retired ex-cop who was fired from the force because of being a crooked cop, and he's basically the one who hires them, and he's connected to certain other crooked cops in the industry and outside of the industry and thugs and all that. Turns into a murder situation, and Marcus, played by Martin Lawrence, and Mike, Detective Mike, played by Will Smith, are going into basically investigate, you could say. And it basically just goes from there. Some of the best things I love about Bad Boys is just the fact that they are able to understand each other so much, with like non-verbally, and they'll get into situations sometimes where like they're arguing with each other and it seems serious, but then you start to watch the scene play out and you're like, oh, okay, this is they're faking this. They're kind of pretending to do really ridiculous shit, and what the hell's going on as an audience? But then you start to understand that, like, oh, okay, no, they're bullshitting their way through this. They know exactly what they're doing, and they can like read each other's minds really well. I really think that adds to like the humor of the whole buddy copness of the theme of the film. I love Detective Mike's choice in cars. He's always driving Porsches, and in this one, his his car right from the beginning of the film is a '94 Porsche 911 Turbo. Really nice car. And throughout the whole series, he's always driving a Porsche, which is cool. I like the. I think it's funny how with the witness, you could say, her name is Julie, played by Tia Leona, by the way. And is it Tia Leone or Tia Leona? Tia Leone. There you go. She's not an actress that I find very attractive in anything, but she's smoking hot in this one. She wears a lot more revealing clothing than she does here in the cover, but she is hot as hell in this film. She wears so many like short skirts, and the way she does her hair, she has kind of this like punkish look to her. She has this like badassness to her in this film, and just her character, the way she is, the way Julie is, her character in this film, is so. She has this sexiness to her that she doesn't have in any other films. And she also acts the best in this one, I find. Like, I've never really found her to be like the best, most memorable actress in anything else either. But this one, she just shines in it completely. But I like how Marcus has to kind of pretend to be Mike for at least the first half of the film, because when she calls in looking for Mike, Mike's not around and only Marcus is, but they don't want to lose their witness. So basically, for half of the film, Martin Lawrence is basically trying to act like Will Smith, and I find it absolutely hilarious. So, like I said, this one hits all the notes of buddy copness, and I really appreciate this one the most for what it did. Now, Bad Boys 2 is my least favorite, just by a bit though, because I found Bad Boys for Life better than this one with what this film didn't nail right on. I think Bad Boys for Life fixed a lot of that things, but a lot of those things I mean, but it's the structure of this film that I didn't like at all. Like I was saying before with the Michael Bay criticisms, this one is definitely way more outbalanced action versus like dialogue and entertainment value kind of thing. If you love explosions and if you love shit blowing up, and if bad CGI doesn't bother you that much, you know, for me, I'd rather watch things actually explode, you know, like back in the 80s and shit with your big, like, Rambo and Predator and Terminator films where they actually had, like, pieces on set blowing up. This one is more of, like, a computer fest. And it's really noticeable a lot, like I said, with the era that it came out, the early mid-2000s. This is a really spread out series too. This is like within 25 years. You had the first one in 95, this one 2003, and the third one 2020. So this is 3 movies in 25 years, so there's a lot of gaps in between them for time periods and when they were made. With this one, it targets, again, the criminal drug underground scene, and there's this big ecstasy problem that's going on, and you get Mike and Marcus investigating this again, going all throughout Miami, trying to find the kingpin of this dealership underground criminal warlord situation. This one you have a drug kingpin from Cuba, and like I said, he's pushing ecstasy into a bunch of clubs, and it's like one of those from set piece to set piece to set piece kind of films. What I did like about it a lot, because there obviously is a lot of things that I did like about it, is again, Michael Bay knows how to frame a camera, and he knows how to direct a scene. Like, he knows how to put a scene together. The only thing I don't like is how much focus he puts on stupid shit going on, like really bad looking explosions, and like it's like overload. It's like, you know, when you eat too much sugar and you just get sick, like that. It's like, enough already. We need to like fucking change shit up a bit. And this is the longest one too, at 2.5 hours. It's literally 2.5. It's way too long. Like, this shit should be 2 hours only, max. 2.5 hours is just way too long for this one. But yeah, like, I love the Haitian gang shootout, where the camera is going in a circle from one room to the next room. I really would be extremely interested in finding out how that was shot, because when it's going in from room to room, it's not like it's going through a gap in a wall. Like, the wall is there, right? So the way they edited that would be really interesting to look into. But with Mike and the Haitian gang in a standoff, I thought the chase scene between the Haitian gang on the highway in the first act of the film was really, really, really well done too. A little bit too long. It felt like it was 20 plus minutes, but it was cool. The whole KKK opening is hilarious. They're busting, like, the whole opening of the film where they're busting the KKK. It's funny to see, not really cameos, but it's funny to see Michael Shannon in this film, who I really like in pretty much anything. He's a phenomenal actor. It's one of his like earlier roles. And Henry Rollins shows up in here from Wrong Turn 2. Really briefly at the beginning of the film, but it's still cool to see that guy. And also the villain was really good. I like the villain in this one. The villain in the first one probably beats it, but the villain in this one is very like cool and entertaining, even though you don't necessarily root for him or anything like that. But he's like a badass. He's a really well put together badass. And there's some like comical relief scenes with him and his mother, who acts way more Italian than she does Cuban, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, the stereotypical Italian mother. Oh wait, she's Cuban, not Italian. But she's that whole like, you know, older, not European, but older Hispanic lady. Stereotypical kind of thing. I like the club scene in this one, the club scenes you could say. What else do we got here? I love the scene where they dressed as they go undercover as pest control, and there's this hilarious scene involving two rats banging that Martin Lawrence just cracks me up with the way he reacts to it. One of the best scenes. There's really funny shit that goes on here, but structure-wise, it's way unbalanced when it comes to comedy and drama and comedy and action and comedy and drama. Like it kind of goes back and forth a little bit too much, especially in one thing in particular where there's a little bit of an issue between Marcus and Mike, in which Mike is had kept it a secret that he was falling for Marcus's sister, and then this rubs Marcus the wrong way, along with other family issues and other basically tension that's going on between him and Mike, and then he threatens to retire, or not retire, but because he doesn't want to retire till the third film, but switch partners, and this throws everybody for a loop. And then they'll, like, not even 2 minutes later, they're buddy again, and they're kind of, you know, cracking jokes again, and it's really unbalanced in that way, where it'll go to like dramatic, then cracking jokes, then dramatic to cracking jokes within 5 to 6 minutes, and it's just too fast moving like that, and that's that can be a problem when you're like, that's what I mean about structure. When I mention structure, that's what I'm talking about. It's weirdly paced, and it doesn't it doesn't connect very well, kind of thing. It kind of takes you out of the film, and it makes the film drag just that much more. I love the scene where the date comes to pick up Marcus's daughter. I forget her name, but I think the guy's name is Reggie, and he's just super shy and super awkward, and they're fucking with him like crazy. So real and so believable. They're like guys at the door, and they're like, "Oh, you 15? Bitch, you look 30." They're like, "You at least 30" and shit like that, and just totally messing with them to like obviously make him go away or something, because you know Marcus's little girl is going on a date with a boy and all that. One thing I forgot to mention about the first film, so rewind a bit. Freeze, mother bitches! Is my favorite scene in this film, and anybody who's seen this film knows exactly what that scene is. First time I heard that line cracked me up entirely, and that scene and that line specifically makes the film. So, had to mention that about Bad Boys 1. I was not going to finish this review without mentioning that. And as for Bad Boys 2, I think I covered everything already. I like the very end of the film too, where they end up in the lake from the swimming pool, because the pool breaks, and then they like drift off into the lake, and they're still like chilling on their floaties or whatever. That scene is beautiful. I love I don't think it's a lake. I think it's part of the ocean, but whatever, the water. It's a beautiful shot with the sunset and everything. I thought that was really well done. Michael Bay, like I said, knows how to direct the scene and knows where to put a camera. That's the best thing that he can do in a film, but he gets too thirsty for the explosions. You know, I think explosions for him are like nice acids. He just wants to like pollute the screen with fucking explosions, like he, you know, a person just having a titty shot every friggin' 20 seconds titties, 20 seconds titties, 20 seconds titties. Eventually you're gonna be like, okay, you know, like, you gonna drown me in titties? Frig, love it and everything, but, how about, you know, how about something else for 3 seconds, and then we can go back to titties. But yeah. And then, of course, you got Bad Boys for Life, the latest one. The one that most people seem to like the best. The one not directed by Michael Bay, even though Michael Bay makes a pretty cool cameo in this one, and did, from my research, direct one scene in it, which is the wedding scene in this film, where he makes his cameo. He directed himself, he directed that scene himself, and it's cool to see him, like, you know, stick to the trilogy that he created, kind of thing. But this one is pronounced by two guys. They're a duo. They are Belgian-Moroccan, and they go by simply Adil and Bilal. Adil and Bilal, their full names aren't written here, but yeah, their trademark kind of thing is Adil and Bilal. And they directed two films, either from Morocco or Belgium. I don't even know if they were English films, but they were feature-length, and one was Gangsta and one was Black, I think. Something like that. And this was their first Hollywood film. They were even told by a little blurb that I came across that this was like their chance, like do or die kind of thing. Like they were told by their manager, or their agent, or something like that, or their producer, something like that, that if they failed on this film, that they wouldn't be able to direct any Hollywood film again. So they were put a lot of pressure on this film. They were young guys too, like I said, really starting in the industry. But Bad Boys was kind of their baby while they were growing up, like watching the films as kids and as teens and all that. Apparently Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are their favorite actors, and Bad Boys are their favorite two films, and Michael Bay, I think, is one of their favorite directors. They blow the hell out of these films. And they were really excited and prepared and like ready to dive into like a third film, and you can see the passion in them listening to them. So that alone gives me full respect on what they did with this, because they definitely threw the not the mood, I guess, the culture of Bad Boys, the style of it completely, and they gave, it still almost looks like a Michael Bay shot film. Like they recreated all of Michael Bay's like famous shots, the circular one that he does at the wedding, but the way that the two leads get out of the car, highway scenes, like when they're slow-mo getting out of the car, when one of them is looking at a distance and the other one kind of comes into frame at the same time while the camera is going around them. Stuff like that, really, really good throwbacks to the first two films, and stuff that you can tell that it's like this film is made by two guys that love the first and second movie. This one follows this criminal woman, you could say, this criminal woman that comes out of jail because her husband, she's now a widow, her husband was killed way back when, like in the 90s. This one sort of comes full circle with the first film, timeline wise. It doesn't really touch on anything that happened in the first film, but timeline wise it brings in Mike and Marcus on certain things that went on in the background, like before the first one. And this woman lost her husband, died, being busted and all that. She's in jail. They call her Santa Muerte. I think Santa Muerte. Yeah, Santa Muerte. Lady Death, or Lady Death. Excuse me. And they also call her La Bruja, which means the witch in Spanish. And she's feared, basically. She's a murderer. She's a killer. She's very into like witchcraft and spells and shit, and very, very like Mexican folklore you know, voodoo, juju kind of shit. She has a son who busts her out of jail, and then the film starts from there. She tells her son to, she basically gives him a hit list of like cops that have screwed them over in the past, screwed their family over in the past, and gives him a hit list. But Mike is Detective Mike is on the hit list. She specifically tells him to kill him last, but he doesn't. Mike ends up in a coma from being shot, and he survives 6 months later. And then when he gets out of this coma, he really takes it upon himself to, as you know, one of the bad boys, to go investigate his own crime, try to find the guy that shot him, even though he's being suggested not to at all. But he doesn't want to listen because he's part of the bad boys. Even Marcus doesn't want to join him in this hunt for this Armando guy. He does anyway. He goes rogue, kind of. They put him on this new team, which is, they call themselves Ammo. I totally forget what Ammo stands for, but they're one squad of the Miami Metro, basically. And everybody on this Ammo team are kind of rookies. They're like late 20s kind of thing. And it really plays into Marcus and Mike getting older and having like new recruits coming in, and them kind of on their way to retirement from Miami Metro and being, you know, bad boys for life and all that. Vanessa Hudgens' character is hot as shit in this film, and I don't think she's utilized enough. I don't think she's utilized enough whatsoever. One, because she's hot, and two, because they just don't really give her anything to do. There's this other character named Rita who I think they utilize a lot more. She played in, I forget the actress's name, but she played in The Purge TV show season 2, and she's a Spanish actress or Cuban actress or something like that. They utilize her a lot, but I would have definitely liked to see a lot of Vanessa Hudgens, a lot more than that. There's also this one younger kid in that Ammo squad who's really annoying throughout the film. He was just always pushing Detective Mike, Will Smith's character. Like they really didn't get along, and he was always like pushing Mike's buttons. And I'm like, this kid's just annoying. Like he's just coming across as a piece of shit. But he built up his character. He started getting better and better throughout, or at least the directors started, and the screenwriters started writing his character better and better as the film went on. So he definitely won me over later on. But we needed more of Vanessa Hudgens, definitely. There is a big twist in this film that adds to the full circleness of the trilogy and goes back to the Bad Boys thing, involving somebody like a main character, one of the two, that I'm going to keep completely. I'm not going to spoil, I'm not going to talk about it or anything, but it did not work for me at all. I think it took away too much from one of the characters. I think it took away too much from what the first two films built, plot-wise, and I think it changed a lot of perspective that I had with the way the trilogy was built up to this film. That with that twist, I just found it a little bit too silly. It didn't work for me. I was not sold on it. I'm like, could have done without it, could have changed something about it. It just didn't work for me. Now, everybody's different. Maybe some people love it, like it, can handle it, whatever. But it's definitely a twist that kind of didn't work for me, and I would rather do without it. But I'm just going to leave it at that for anybody who hasn't seen Bad Boys for Life yet. That's basically how I feel about it. Action-wise, like I said, it's a lot like Bad Boys 2, but they do fix. It's better shot. It's a lot of the action scenes are more well done. The Santa Muerte character is interesting. She's definitely badass. She's definitely evil as shit. So she's very entertaining. I really liked the very last scene in the of the film. It's kind of post credit, but not really. Involving Armando and Mike, Detective Mike. There's a scene between them that I really thought elevated the film a lot as an ending. So that was cool. But, and I mean, it kind of touches on the twist as well, so I'm not going to get too into it, but I'm just going to say that the very last scene of the film elevated the plot a lot and made me kind of, like, it won the movie over in a sense that I'm like, okay, I like that. That's good enough for me. Like I like where that can kind of go if they ever made a fourth film, which I don't know if they should because this is a perfect trilogy on its own, but it is what it is. The final like whole like shoot up sequence is great. Again, there's a highway chase that's great. All the action set pieces and sequences in this film were better than Bad Boys 2. Again, I think the where the film doesn't hit perfect is structure wise again. I don't think that the balance between comedy and drama and action are really structured properly, but when you get like a buddy cop action film, I don't think it necessarily has to be, and I don't think that audiences are really looking for that. I think most audiences are probably just wanting explosions and action pieces and action scenes anyway, so what you get in this film when it comes to that is really well done, especially in comparison to Bad Boys 2. So I think that's a winner there. There's a scene specifically where Armando and Will Smith are fighting in the middle of the film between like balconies, and I'm guessing that Will Smith had a stuntman in those scenes, but they're really filmed in a way that is really well directed. So the direction of Bad Boys for Life, I think, is a step up from Bad Boys 2 and is definitely a win for what it is. It doesn't come close for me personally to the original Bad Boys. I think the original Bad Boys is best structured, best directed for the type of film it is. Like Bad Boys 1995 is the best, one of the best, I should say. Betty, who's Betty? Buddy cop films. And you can't, like, bar none, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence working together is just the best thing about these films, easily. I'm pretty sure Reggie shows up again, and I'm pretty sure it's the same actor. The kid that was in Bad Boys 2 that they were messing with at the door, I think it's the same actor. He looks like him, they look the same. He's getting married to Marcus's daughter. They had a baby. Marcus is now a grandfather, wanting to retire, but obviously he doesn't. But yeah, I liked seeing, if it's the same actor, because I'm pretty sure this is a series that brings back everybody from the first two films, at least as cameos, so that was cool. And yeah, I think that about covers my notes for that one. I like the whole series. I think I like watching the three of them, you know, like marathoning them kind of thing. But I think if I was just to watch one of them, like I'm definitely not gonna sell these or anything. But I mean, you can't compare it to Bad Boys, the original. If I'm just gonna pick one favorite, obviously. But I'm rambling on, so I'm gonna finish off with that. That's the Bad Boys trilogy. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with some more. There's plenty on my channel. Check them out. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Take care and cheers.